Good afternoon. Coming from the Mark Ork Zoo Diaries. Today I am here to discuss my current predicament. And I'm going to preface this while I still have a voice. And I don't know what has caused this. I've got a doctor's appointment scheduled in the very near future, so I'm going to go to a specialist. But when I speak for too long now, I start losing my voice, and so I can't hold a conversation of more than a few minutes without my voice cracking and itching. And it comes right back. And if I drink, if I hydrate, if I use liquids, it tends to not be so bad. So I'll continue by drinking water. Hopefully that'll alleviate it. But some of the hilarity of it, it's like cat got my tongue. Kappa Alpha Theta Cat, when my sister was in a sorority at SMU where Laura Bush was. And the Bush League Beauty Shop, the Kelly Clarkson of The Voice, because I'm JV, being junior, J.R. Ewing, Bush League, so Voice is out of my league. And they use like the devil's advocate, the hammer through the tongue to keep me quiet, to stifle the prosecution, to keep me from espousing it's Jesus Voodoo. Use it or lose it, I guess you would say. But it's also, it's like ED. I also have use it or lose it, I guess. And it goes back into handicapping, that sort of thing. And the body snatchers theory that I have, that because I am a debt slave to the Caldwell Zoo, they pay for my diploma, and I've never been able to make real money to be able to afford to buy myself out of slavery. So therefore, they take my body, transfer it out, chop it into pieces, and use Republic representatives use my body, because I'm a giant, St. Louis 9. And so they give me a lemon that I use as far as, so it's trading places, bait and switch sort of mentality. So I can't escape. And like the Indians, or the Native Americans, the Native Americans used every part of a buffalo. They take pride in the Jew Down X Games, using every ounce of power from my body and distributing it in order to keep me paralyzed in the zoo and keep the wells flowing. And it's a really interesting, funny theory. I came up with it a long time ago, but it's really bizarre how it is. But my voice, so I think it goes back to I don't talk a lot because I'm by myself. I spend most of my time isolated, and so I don't talk a lot. And if I do talk, it's usually just brief interactions. When I worked at the candy store, I would talk to customers, but whenever I try to have a conversation, and since I don't talk to people a lot, I tend to ramble whenever I do have somebody to talk to, and so then I lose my voice, and it's really frustrating. So I am going to try to arrange to go see a specialist and get them to find out what is wrong with it. Hopefully it's just lack of use. And it seems like, and I specifically, I had a friend that was at work one day, and I went in and talked to her, and I purposely talked through the crackling, and it tended to fix itself to where it was better the longer I talked. So I don't think it's a major problem. Hopefully it's just from lack of communication, the cat got my tongue sort of mentality. So I would like to, I have a lot to say, but I usually use my typewriter and my laptop to do that mostly. So, but this this week I'm going to talk about what I've been up to lately, my latest projects. I created an art flyer. Since I've been here, it's been like being in an escape room, trying to escape Savannah. And I'm given no resources and I'm not allowed to build alliances to try to help. So I can't socialize my way out of existence. Most people, and I think this was part of the motive, most people, and especially around here where there is so much connectivity to the arts community because of SCAD, you make connections and then there are ways to build your way out of captivity. But since I'm relegated, alienated, isolated, I have been unable to socialize my way out. I even bought this book as a joke, with the Social Climber's Bible. But I've been unable to social climb my way out of here because of a lack of connectivity, because of alienation. That was so I come up with all these ideas, and I've had lots of business plans and things like that. And one of the more recent ones is I came up with this flyer, this art flyer, which hopefully will be in museums one day. The copies that I hand out to people is CreateInternetCelebrity, and with an agenda of a Global Awakening Enlightenment scenario. And then I put underneath there several of the, I think I've got a copy. Then I've got Ski Resort TV. That's another one I came up with. It's a really good strategy idea that I came up with that is it could be a TV channel with, I had a bunch of programs containing like the World Economic Forum, the Aspen Ideas Festival, Jackson Hole, all live events from all these things, put the World Cup races since they're not on TV anymore. Then there was an interesting idea. It would take, that's down the road. That's phase 2 or 3 with my plan. But it's a really good idea. I have a whole bunch of ideas for programming and could create a whole channel that would possibly reshape the power dynamics of the global scenario. One of the reasons I'm probably hindered because it would probably detract away from the current power scenario structures. So I came up with the idea to create an internet celebrity with a Global Awakening Enlightenment scenario agenda, and I wrote a novel about it. I was sitting in the coffee shop, and I would go to the coffee shop to read because I have to get out of the house to be around. And I talk to people occasionally, but not really much. And so I would sit at this around a communal table, and one day a girl came up, and she had a specific look about her. You could tell she was a SCAD student, and she had a paint box with her, and so I gave her a copy of the flyer, and I've given out a good many of these and gotten zero response back from it. Shows the proclivities to intellectualism, but it's probably just because I don't know. It's a strange, and I go into all these different theories in the novel about how it was a semi-autobiographical novel based on an alienated, introverted writer trying to escape, and he does the same thing I did with the Create Internet Celebrity. And in the novel, he meets somebody who wants to save credibility in case this project ever lifts off, and she has she wants to be historically relevant as an artist, and so she sees this as an opportunity, and this is a real opportunity to try and turn into something and build bridges. It's an art and business project. It could build bridges. In the novel itself, they end up going to Los Angeles and meeting with talent agents, and they escape, and I'll give away the ending. But deals. I also pencil in a fanatical group that has religious and political affiliations that adds mystery to it, and it's used as their catalyst for escaping. So it's an interesting book. It's got a lot of philosophy in it. I actually include essays that I've written. There's a lot of heavy duty dialogue. It's got real potential, and I published it on Blurb online, so it's self-published, and I'm reading a copy of it right now with spell checking and things like that. The cat's in the box, as you can hear that. And she always finds a way to make a noise or jump in the picture when I'm doing these things. So, it's an interesting project, and in the book I talk about, it's semi-autobiographical, that I talk about how on Twitter that there are tweets by these talent agents, and I've been tweeting to them to try to escape from my captivity. And they know who I am, and I don't know how up the chain of command it goes, but I've put some really relevant. I'm gonna have to do something about that. So I don't know how high up the chain of command it goes, but somebody there, they have to know. In my estimation, there has to be some discussions about this because of the legitimacy of my theories pertaining to my captivity and my being blacklisted by the talent agents, even though I'm a highly credible. And there's so much mediocre I watch a lot of TV. That's the story of my life, is TV. And I'm a critic of TV and movies, and there is a lot of mediocre television and movies out there. And I've come up with a lot. I was more of an idea person than I am, but I have the ability to come up with ideas. But I've got so many good ideas that could be transformed into money-making shows. And once I get through the first stage, I can launch some of these other projects, hopefully. So it's the wasted prime of my life, and I always start off my tweets by saying, still kidnapstered, because there's the USS Kidd in Baton Rouge. It's a destroyer that was put there when I was younger, and they've filmed several movies on it and things like that. It's a tourist attraction. And I also put prime wasted decades, because ever since, my entire life has been wasted. I've been poor my entire life. Really poor compared to most people my entire life. And then unable to accomplish anything. And it's a form of captivity, smart captivity as I call it. And so basically transfer the value. And the theory is, and what I meant, because it goes back to this debt slavery also, they transfer the value, the power. It's like a well drilling into me, and they transfer my power out of me and distribute it into other. And this all goes back to St. Louis, King of France, number 9. In my theoretical estimation, I think I was created to be a well, and they gave me a high rank, then stole my body and distribute the power. Then mass produce cash, and cash is king, is validation. And I've come up with a theory that there's a secret war against Europe, because Europe is more of a qualitative system, and that's in my novel. I have a whole bunch of discussion of economic and political and philosophical principles of the modern age. So I have this theory that they're producing cash, and I use to cosign diplomas and charge cards, and then cash is validation. And there are winners and there are losers. It's a casino capitalism system, but they're mass producing cash, and for some odd reason they need the justification, and they use me as the justification for this sort of thing. So I've wasted the prime of my life being a well from magic power, and it ties into Louisiana, which ties into the Catholic world because of the Napoleonic Code, parishes in Louisiana, and the Catholic world uses parishes and things like that. So I think they're using me as a drill bit into Louisiana, as a drill bit into the Catholic world, and then distributing it throughout the United States. And there's a whole big scenario that I've documented on Facebook and online that shows how the numerology and code and things like that, and how it's linked, ties into all for one, one for all, the 414 Milwaukee, Louisiana 513, Louis 5I13 Anna, which is Cincinnati. And they actually have Zachary Taylor as the coach of the Cincinnati Bengals, and Zachary Taylor was the only president from Louisiana ever. And what a coincidence, huh? And so I think it's a way of transferring the power into and then you go into the BLM, my initials, which is StBarts, alphanumeric code, and but when I'm in arrears because of my debt slavery, because I was always poor, it goes into MLB. So then you look into the KC Royals, and my stepfather has 3 kids, all with initials KC. What a coincidence. And KC, this is all documented online. It's just theories, but it makes a lot of sense. But so the wasted prime of my life used like as validation for transfer of the power, and they maximize the usage to protect the flow of power, bleed into a coma captivity, and so it's just a matter of being able to understand what's going on. Then, because of massive bribery schemes, and the United States has a lot of deep corruption, but they hide it well, and they're too big to get caught. That's one of the other reasons, in my estimation, for this massive growth spurt. From 2008, when I was captive in Aspen, then quantitative easing started. It was the biggest production of creation of wealth in the history of the world, and since then to 2020, and we're paying for it now with inflation, and but the premise or the thought behind it was too big to get caught. The rest of and right now the United States is 25% of the global GDP, so it justifies the mass expansion, and not to mention the mergers and acquisitions, like murders and executions from American Psycho, of mergers and acquisitions of assets from around the globe, and that validates the supersized valuations of the sacred livestock, which I co-sign and create theoretically. And it's just a real strange scenario, but there's because of the bushes are tied into it, it's hidden or buried and erased from there. There's an attempt to erase me from history. I've documented this online, and that's another reason I think that it's just a really strange predicament. So the Rams transferred out to J.R. Ewing, St. Louis. Ewes and Rams are both types of sheep, and the Rams transferred from St. Louis to L.A., the real L.A., unlike the L.A. of Louisiana. And so that was a payoff. in my estimation, to keep me buried. And not to mention Obama really got a lot of support from the talent agents. That was the key. When I started long time ago, when I started trying to be a writer, and they realized that they had to find a way to keep me buried, our estimation. So the LA Rams transferred to LA. It was a big bribery in my estimation to keep me buried, to keep me off the radar. And the media it's a really strange predicament. But I'm known in media circles, and I'm known in international circles. I post online to try to keep myself from being erased. And I've got thousands of pages online on Facebook, Twitter, and Tumblr. All of my work and theories and ramblings and rantings and ravings and madness. And when I was, it started off, and even this More Work channel started off being a way to try and it was a way, it was some creative outlet. I was actually, when I started this, working on my spoken word. I wanted to do, and my voice is holding up pretty good today, shockingly. I wanted to do a spoken word, stand-up comedy type of routine, and I was teaching myself and using theories that I had. I've got hundreds of hours of theories on YouTube channel. So all of this to preserve myself from history in case I ever do get discovered. And it's what a waste and what a horrific meat grinder of an existence. It could have been done so properly, and my entire life has basically been a waste, though. So that's enough for today. Shocked my voice held up 20 minutes. Pretty good. So y'all have a nice day, and I'll try something new another time.